Today I am going to do an oil painting. I'm more of a drawing guy than a painter, but I just wanted to explore other media as well. I'm not at all an expert in oil painting and I don't usually paint that often, so I'm not going to teach you how to do oil painting in a systematic way, but I will just tell you what all things I did to paint this one. For the painting, I used a stretched canvas of size 12 into 10 inches, pebeo studio oil colors, and the solvent I used was linseed oil. I am starting off with painting a layer of burnt umber over the white canvas. Here I am not at all caring about the smoothness. This coating helps to attain the values easily, and painting on a white canvas is too boring for me. But there is nothing wrong in painting directly on white canvas. It all depends on what you prefer. After allowing the coating to dry for an hour, I made an outline of the flamingo with a graphite pencil. For the initial layer of burnt umber, I mixed burnt umber with 1 part of linseed oil and 4 parts of distilled turpentine for fast drying. We don't use that much of distilled turpentine for the actual painting though. So the initial layer will touch dry within an hour. So I completed the basic outline here. I didn't draw any details or values into it, but you can even draw fine details and values initially with pencil. In my color palette, I have a large portion of white paint, then cadmium red and orange. I mixed the red with white to get the pink color. Some areas were a bit orange colored and some areas were even brownish. So I added dark umber in those places. Right now I am applying all these colors to the canvas. At this stage I am blocking in all the areas with the most prominent color there. I don't worry about the texture and detail at this layer at all. Instead, I am concentrating on getting the values correct. So, in this stage, you should have painted all the shadows and highlights with appropriate colors. If you can't decide what color is the most prominent on each areas, just do a blurring filter on Photoshop and it will bring out the most prominent color, avoiding all the details, which is a distraction at this stage. I am not mixing the paint with too much solvent here. Too much solvent makes the paint transparent and the underpainting may show through. I'll mix the paint with linseed oil and a few drops of distilled turpentine for the rest of the painting. If you add more turpentine, the paint will dry fast and you may not be able to manipulate them later. Like I said earlier, the aim of this first layer is to establish a value painting. So, after painting this layer, you should achieve the basic shapes of the flamingo and the shadows. You can paint over and over again until you are satisfied. This is the big advantage of oil painting over other media. You get infinite amount of time to experiment with all the colors and values. So you don't have to worry at all. If you made a mistake, just paint over again to correct it. To smoothen out and blend the colors I laid down on canvas, I just used a large mop brush without any solvents. Now I am painting the second layer where I will add some details and make the colors little more vibrant by adding more colors. I left the beak and background without painting because they are very dark. Painting them at this stage may smudge the color and ruin the lighter areas. As you can see, I am using a smaller brush to paint the details such as feathers. Feathers are pure white where the light is setting the maximum, and some feathers are pure pinkish red. One thing you should remember when painting feathers is the direction of the feathers. You should paint the feathers according to the direction as seen in the reference picture. Painting them in all directions will make it less realistic. I am going over the first layer again to make it more vibrant and to redefine the values. This helps to make the painting smoother and more colorful. And by the second layer, the underpainting of burnt umber will disappear completely. I mixed brown color with pink to paint the shadows between the feathers, and I used that color to apply over some other shadow areas as well. This will help to increase the contrast of the painting. Now I am blending the colors together with a mop brush. You may lose the intensity of some colors while doing this, but you can add colors again later. Blending with a mopping brush helps to avoid all the sharp edges and gives a smooth finish. I am adding another layer where I will use the oil colors as such without any solvents. This will intensify the colors and help to paint pure whites. Since this is a wet on wet painting, when adding white, it will get mixed with the underlying colors and the resulting color will not be white. So, I will use the white paint as such and I will apply it with very light hand so I can get pure white highlights. So I will grab the white paint without solvent and paint over those feathers again to get really defined feathers. This also helps to create an illusion of shining feathers. This way I will paint single red feathers too by grabbing red paint. Notice that I always follow the direction of feathers as seen in the reference picture. I am using a small round brush to do all these strokes. To make that red a bit more interesting, I mixed it with orange. This gives a much more vibrant result. You should not worry about the rough edges, we can always make it smooth by just using a mop brush. The method I use to paint this one is the traditional layer by layer technique, but you can also paint something by carefully doing all the details in the initial layer itself by working in a small area at a time. But this may take a lot of time, but you can achieve far more realistic results. Most of the hyper-realistic painters use this method, but for this painting, I use the traditional layer by layer technique. You can see that I am going over the shadows again with darker colors. As the painting progresses, we may have to darken the shadows again and again to get the perfect value. I am now going over the painting with a layer of white to add fine feathers. I am using a small brush to do that, and after painting I will blend it lightly with a mop brush. Direction of the feathers should be maintained. Now I am painting the deep shadows between the feathers with a mix of brown and black. After completing it, I am using a mop brush to blend, and after that I will paint over and over until I am satisfied with the values. Now it's almost complete, so I will paint the darkest areas. That include the beak and the background. For the black color, I use a mix of black, dark green and dark blue to get a deeper black. After mixing the colors, I will carefully apply it with a small flat brush. For the edges, I will use even smaller brush. Extreme care has to be taken not to smudge it over lighter areas. For the background, I will use an initial layer of sap green and then a layer of black and some lighter greens, and I will blend them together with a mop brush. For the edges, I will carefully use a small brush. We can use a dry flat synthetic brush to blur the edges and blend them together. So the painting is complete, and it will get dry to touch by around 3 to 4 days. Till then, you will have to keep the painting in a dust-free area. After about 6 months, the painting will get completely dry, and then we can apply varnish over it. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this, and you can follow me on all social media linked in the description below.